Alright, so I have here the new Indiana Jones 4K 4 movie set. I bought the Steelbooks from Best Buy. I had to order it online. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is the packaging, which I think leaves a little to be desired. The outer box is just a little flimsy and not incredibly well made. It would have been nice if they had made it with sturdier, firmer cardboard or maybe aluminum. But on the plus side, the Steelbooks are pretty easy to get in and out of the case. It's not like the Back to the Future set, where I think the big problem with that is that they're so close together, so it makes it a little more difficult to take them out. You can't take them out by just picking them out of the box. You have to sort of tip the box upside down a little bit to get one of them out. So it's nice that this set has a little more separation between the movies. And then there's the artwork. I'm not hating it, but I'm not loving it. It's got some flaws. There's some things I like. There's some things about it that I don't like. I don't really like the shade of white that they went with. I don't really like the shade of orange that they went with. And then you've got the map overlays. I don't think it just really blends well together. But I do like that they tried to make it a bit more simple and just go a bit cleaner and not make it seem too cluttered. And one thing I like is that on the back of the box and on the back of all the steel books, you've got a symbol for each of the movies. It's really the MacGuffin of each of the movies is on the back. You've got the Ark, the Stones, the Holy Grail, and the Crystal Skull. So I like what they did, and I like the fact that they wanted to make it a little bit more simple. And I don't think they needed to go with the standard orange and black that they've been going with for a long time. I respect that they tried something different, but it doesn't quite work. And then the covers of the steel books are good, but they kind of look like they just sort of cut out a part of the poster and did a few alterations to it. So it's really not the worst artwork, but it's not the best. But I do like that there is a difference. The outer box and the surrounding packaging are not incredibly well made, but the steel books themselves are very nice. Nice construction. I like that they're glossy. I'm a big fan of that. Besides, if I really wanted to, I could just throw away the box and put the steel books on the shelves by themselves. One other thing that I think is really kind of goofy, I think this is very odd, is that, there's these little plastic push parts in the middle of the disc to release it. Now, in the first 3 steel books, those aren't there. But in the 4th one, those are there for both discs, the movie and the special features disc. It doesn't really matter if it's there or not. It just kind of hurts your fingers a little bit more. So as for the movies themselves and how they look, I did watch all 4. I was going to watch all 4 in one night. But then I realized, wait, there's 4 movies, and I don't think I quite have the time. I'll be really, really tired if I turn on the 4th one now. So I watched that the next day. In terms of how they look, I'm going to separate the first 3 from the 4th one because there was such a long break between Last Crusade and the Crystal Skull. So as for the first 3, Last Crusade is certainly the best looking, and then Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom was a little disappointing because I personally believe that Temple of Doom has the best cinematography of the series, definitely of the first 3. Despite the fact that they were all photographed by the same person, I think Douglas Slocum did incredibly good work on Temple of Doom, especially when you get to the temple scene, because the temple scene has a lot of great colors to it. It just could have benefited from being saturated a little bit more, but maybe they felt if they boosted the saturation a little too much, it would have looked a bit more artificial than they would like. Then there's also the fact that The Last Crusade was shot on better film, and newer film, of course, because there was an 8-year gap between Raiders and Last Crusade. It's better film, it's more durable film. So with the first 2, which were shot on the same film stock, you're going to get a little bit more grain than with the 3rd one. None of the movies really have a whole lot of grain on them because, mainly because of the fact that they're color. And color film is not as grainy as black and white film. even if it's the same speed. And then, of course, the fourth one looks really, really good. It looks really good, but I separate them because, of course, that's the newest one, so that's using really good film stock. There's not going to be a lot of grain there at all. I think that's one reason why Crystal Skull was not as well received as the others, is because of how it looked. The movie played a part too, because it was just a B movie. It wasn't incredibly good, but Janusz Kaminski has a style that is very different from Douglas Slocum. So the look of it is much, much different. He uses light and shadow far differently. Personally, if I made it, I probably would have had Vilmos Zsigmond be the cinematographer. He definitely had his own style, but the way he shot was a little bit more like Douglas Slocum, and I just would have wanted to keep that look consistent throughout the films. So of course Crystal Skull looks the best because it's the newest and has the best film stock, so that's kind of a no-brainer. But when you look at the original three, which I think is what most people do only, The Last Crusade looks the best, and then Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then Temple of Doom. So I also watched all the special features on the bonus disc. There are no commentaries on the movies themselves, which is a little disappointing for me. I would have liked that for a new set that came out, but it's not really necessary. Some films in fact most films, but I do like to watch commentary sometimes. Most films you really just need to enjoy and watch. There's no real need for commentary, but that can be fun. So all the special features on this set are making of documentaries. The last three movies, it's newish featurettes. Raiders is the only one that has a vintage making of documentary. And then the rest of the special features are about the visual effects and the props and set design and music and sound design. So as for the movies themselves, The Last Crusade is still my favorite, followed by Raiders. And then I'm not 100% sure if I would say Temple of Doom and then Crystal Skull or the other way around. Because, Temple of Doom might have more strong suits than Crystal Skull. Crystal Skull, I think, has one really good scene in it. There's some unnecessary comedy in it, I think, but the scene where Indy and Mud find the Crystal Skull is a really good scene, at least to me. It's the most like Indiana Jones. It has that feel and that tone and just the right look. But then Temple of Doom, on the other hand, has really just the gross out stuff, which I think detracts from it, because watching these again, and by the way, this is the first time I believe it's the first time I've watched all of the movies in order. Of course I wasn't alive when they first came out, so I'm going to watch them not in order when I'm a kid, but I think after I started watching them, I would watch them out of order, which is fine. You don't need to watch them in order because they're based on serials, but they're not serialized, which I think is quite nice. I think Last Crusade is probably the one I always watched. It's the one I watched the most. Might be true for most people, but that and Raiders, probably the ones that I would typically watch. Temple of Doom on occasion. Temple of Doom, as I said, is the most beautiful of the first three, I think. In terms of the cinematography, it has the best cinematography of the first three. And it also has a really cool story. And it's a weird story. I like the fact that it's weird. I'm fine with that. It's just the gross out stuff that is unnecessary. I wouldn't say it bothers me, but it's unnecessary. And I don't dislike the character of Willie as much as she was disliked when it first came out, because when you watch the features, they talk about that, about, that she's screaming all the time and she's just not the strong female character. But that's not the point. She, in this story, is the fish out of water. It's not Indy. Indy's never the fish out of water because, this is what he does. I suppose if you were to have him be a professor all the time, he would be the fish out of water, because it seems like that's not what he really likes to do. I mean, you notice whenever he's in class, he's just constantly standing there waiting for Marcus Brody to show up. It seems like that's the case. So she's the fish out of water. She gets pulled into a situation that she is not prepared for and does not want to be in. But there is a little bit of an arc in that movie for her. One of my favorite moments in the movie is, it's near the end, because of course it's an arc, so the end is when she's going to start getting a little bit more brave and a little bit less prissy, which is what she was supposed to be. And it's when Indy is going to cut the suspension bridge. She gives the obligatory, "Oh my God," but it's not a hysterical proclamation. It's a resigned, okay, this is going to happen. But it's one of my favorite moments, and it's a really great line delivery. And it is kind of odd how Raiders of the Lost Ark is my second favorite of the movies, because I think that Temple of Doom and Last Crusade are, story-wise, better constructed, but Raiders is just a really, really cool movie. So there's the Indiana Jones 4K 4-movie set Steelbook edition. I'd recommend picking it up. Like I said, the Steelbooks themselves are very nice, very well made. The other set, I don't think would be too much different in terms of like artwork. I don't know the inside. It's probably like some others where the discs are in sleeves, which again is not a problem. I don't know why anyone thinks that that's a problem, because taking them in and out is really not a big deal. So whichever one you can get, I'd recommend going and getting it. All right, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.